everybody. I'm Michele Rempel with California Pulse, and today I'm have the pleasure of talking with April Reeves, the owner of Making SLO in beautiful downtown San Luis Obispo. So welcome, April. I'm really happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
And so tell us, what is Making SLO? What's that all about?
It is a retail store, like you said, downtown San Luis Obispo, and we have only locally made goods and gifts. So local art, artists, makers, crafters, a fun combination.
It sounds like a fun combination. It is a fun combination. So, okay. So you have this store, it's all local folk, creators, artists, artisans. Um, how did you get started? When did you get started and how did you get started?
I officially opened October of 2023, so it's been over a year and a half. And it came about, I had an idea of working with local creatives and helping small businesses. That's really the drive of opening the store, wanting to showcase pieces from local artists. And I don't remember exactly when I thought of the idea, or it just feels like it had been there for a while. And then being in San Luis Obispo, I just knew that this area, more so than any other place that I've ever been, is so supportive and just has a really cool and like unique creative community. So leaning into that and giving the community that connection with local creatives was really part of what I wanted to do. Besides helping, obviously, knowing how difficult it can be as a small business creative, like giving them those opportunities to sell their product in a unique way that wasn't being done in a year-round store.
Yeah. So you work with creatives. Are you yourself a creative?
I am. I actually finally kind of figured out that I'm a multi-passionate creative.
Oh, nice. I love that. Multi-passionate.
Which is very common for a lot of creatives.
Yeah.
So yes, and I've done a lot of different things over the years, but I really give a lot of credit to my mom because she fostered and encouraged exploring a lot of different things, exploring what we were interested in, and not only learning, but also doing things. So we would work on arts and crafts projects a lot. And so being able to have that experience and exposure on different mediums and then being encouraged to like say, oh yeah, I want to do this new thing and try it out and see if that's something that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, right? About being creative is you get like that squirrel syndrome, like, oh, I gotta go try that. Oh, that's super cool. I gotta go do that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes a little too much. It's what my yarn would say that's waiting for me to crochet.
Right? Yeah, that's calling. All those materials are calling to you all the time. Yeah. So you feature all these creatives, and what do you feel like is the hardest part of being a creator, creative in business? Like what are some of those things that you see that are just really tough for people to
Ooh,
do?
I feel like the number one, almost every creative that I talk to tells me, I just want to create. I don't want to do the business side. It's
Yes.
like one of the top things.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that have to do with business, like keeping track of where your sales are coming from, like analyzing data, doing the bookkeeping, doing the taxes, all of that, all of the paperwork type of things using a spreadsheet. So uh, for me, I also had a unique opportunity growing up because I started my first small business at 16,
Oh, wow.
and my dad used to do bookkeeping and tax for a business. And so he taught me how to do my own taxes
Nice.
when I had that business. So, and I did for many years with other businesses as well. So I did have more of a foundation than some might have in knowing what to track, paying attention to numbers. Not to say that I'm 100% perfect. I still have the stacks of receipts that I have to sort through.
Yeah.
So, but I'm thankful that I had that background as well
Yeah.
to counter the, enjoying creating, but also understanding that it's important to do back end business things as well.
So one of the things that I noticed, like on your website or in descriptions about your business, is that of course, you're passionate about supporting creative people,
Mhm.
with selling their stuff, right? But
Yeah.
also you're passionate about supporting them, and you kind of touch on this, but supporting them in other ways.
Right.
How do you support the folks that bring their pieces to your store to their stuff to your store? What are
Right.
other ways that you support them?
Well, a lot of it might tie to the store, but in actuality, things that I talk about and I want creatives to know and understand can be applied to any scenario in their business. So, for instance, one of the things that I personally noticed, again, well, not again, I didn't say this. I never owned a retail store before this.
Oh, okay. Woo,
So just to put that out there,
okay.
I'm learning a lot of things
I bet
myself.
you are. Yeah.
So when I first started, it was very much just teaching myself things. And along the way, what I've learned, I've tried to pass along as much as I can. And so I work with a lot of the makers, and giving them advice, kind of a coaching aspect, consulting. It's a mix of a lot. And it's really just those tips, and can be about general marketing, the 80/20 rule. Tagging your products is something that is like you would think it's just very simple level, but a lot don't have that. And they may not be used to that because they've been selling at markets. And at markets, you're there to talk to your customer face
Right.
to face.
Yeah.
But if you have your products in a store, you really need to find ways for your product to speak for you and to speak for itself. So understanding how that works in that environment will also help in other environments as well. So like if you have things more clearly labeled, if you have your logo and your contact information, not just a business card, I would say, attached to your product so that when people buy it, at a market or at a store, they can then contact you. We've had several instances where people will contact the maker directly and order custom products or order other things.
Yeah.
So I want that to be, it's just one tool. It's just one sales avenue being in the store, but really business principles can be used across the board, and understanding how customers interact with your products can help in, any scenario.
Yeah. And do you have like other people in your support network that kind of like in your back pocket? So if a maker is going, oh man, I'm having such a hard time with bookkeeping, do you say, I got a guy or I got a girl? Or do you have that kind of list or
I'm working on that. I do have several that I've recommended or, passed on information for I actually just did a webinar with a bookkeeper.
Oh, cool.
So Nancy Schilder with
Right. Yeah.
Schilder
Yeah.
Bookkeeping. So we went over a lot of questions that creatives would have and like the Schedule C categories. So that's something that I feel like is an important part of the education process and like having business resources and tools. So yes, I'm constantly looking for those contacts and having people to be able to say, oh, hey, like so and so can help you with this. I've done a lot of different things. So in several instances, if they have questions about something or need to do some kind of hands-on, like making a tag, for instance, for your products, like I know how to do that. So like I can help you with that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that helps a lot.
Mhm.
So I've seen in some of the marketing about you and on your website that there is often a person standing next to you in these photos. Is this someone who's integral in making slow or
Very much, yeah. My husband, and we're actually going to be celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary
oh,
in November.
congrats. Awesome.
So, yeah, so we've been through quite a bit over the years, whether that was in our own relationship, but also like doing businesses together. And thankfully, he helps me quite a bit without getting paid. Right now, he's the one paying our bills. He's a web developer, so he has a remote job that allows him to help. He mainly helps me on the weekend, so you might see him at the store on the weekend days to give me a little bit of break, and then with like our website and other things, usually
Yeah.
like the tech stuff.
Yes. Yes. Cool.
So he's a very big help for me.
Yeah. I'm a creative too, and so my husband is often seen schlepping the tent and tables and so on to, various shows and festivals around and
Yep.
yes, he's very lowly paid for all of the work that he, puts in to do all of that. So yeah, it's
Right.
kind of funny. So how did you select the space that you're in? Was that a hard process or did it kind of speak to you or
It's pretty interesting. For one thing, I did want to have the store on Higuera because that's really where a lot of the foot traffic was.
right?
And is um when I was considering this idea, basically just walked up and down all of the streets in downtown to check and just kind of like look to see what was available, kind of get the vibe check of like different streets. There's really a noticeable difference, it seems like when people are doing their shopping of like Higuera between Truro and Broad, which is where we're at, does seem like it gets a lot more activity than even past that. Although things change, right? So
Yeah,
like stores have closed, some have opened, and so it changes the dynamic of some of the streets. But at that time, it was very much like, okay, this does make sense as the street. Thankfully, there was a spot that was empty because it's a bit rare. And we knew what had been there. It used to be a jewelry store, Marshall's Jewelry,
right, right.
but they had closed a while back and it had been a couple of things briefly. One of the interesting things actually is that they were only offering a short-term lease. It was going to be like 9 months at the most.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so like, but at the same time, we were kind of looking at another one, and the typical lease term for like commercial retail buildings, like a 3 to 5 year lease. And when I'm kind of just trying to put faith in this idea and this dream. So it's also very like, oh, can I commit to that long? And I was working with a consultant over at the Women's Business Center, Mission Community Services. And he gave me a good tip of like, well, if there's a way to do it, maybe it's better to like
Yeah.
test the market, see if it's going to work out. So when I saw that it was the short-term lease, like, well, that would be a way to test it. It would
Yeah.
just be like, maybe we'll just do a pop-up for 4 months and then see what happens from there. So that was actually what I did. I signed a 6-month lease, but it was technically July, no, August. And do the math here. We spent about a month and a half getting it ready.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Um, And that was the other part of it. Thankfully, that space has built-ins and had carpet and a chandelier. So like it wasn't like a huge build out, which is also
Yeah.
good because if you're planning on not being there very long, you don't want to invest a huge, amount of money.
Yeah.
Um, so so it's like, okay, let's see. It has a funky vibe, but we can lean into that because it's art. Later on, we actually learned a lot more about the space and that the owner of Marshall's for a good chunk of time was Clifford Chapman and just connected to the Chapman estate
Right. Yeah.
and his
Shell
mother
Beach. Yeah.
Shell Beach, yeah. Um, and yeah, unbeknownst to us at the time, he was very into supporting the arts. And so it was like, oh, that's perfect. You're continuing on a little bit of that. So being able to see like, okay, this space could work. It's short term. Let's try it out. And then, technically our lease ended, but we're like, okay, I guess we'll continue. People seem to like it. Let's just see how long we'll stay. And they were offering a short-term lease because they wanted to work on the building. They haven't told us to leave, so we're staying for now.
I love it. Like, hey, we'll just keep staying here and paying the rent until you say no, but
Exactly.
that's cool.
Yep.
So what's been the most maybe the most surprising thing about owning this retail space and working with creatives in this way?
Um, Surprising for me in the community is just how many like connections I've made and great people that I've come to know. Also, it's kind of a funny, surreal feeling when you meet someone brand new and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I say, "I have a store downtown." I'm like, "Oh, I love that store. I go
Ah,
there." They're like, "Oh, cool." Like, I didn't really think of that as a byproduct, which is just great to hear and great to see our local repeat customers come in and enjoy the the feel of the store and also the uniqueness of the products. And because of that too, like I started noticing from the beginning that we would get those locals coming in and checking out what we had. And sometimes they'd even say like, "Oh, are you gonna rotate out the makers? Are you gonna like be bringing in different things?" So like, okay, it's like we want to see some change over time and like get a feel for like new things. So we do change out products. A lot of the makers make new products, but then also swap out like artists and different things. So,
yeah, and I was going to ask you that about how you, I mean, I'm sure it's been trial and error, right? Like how do you
right.
do that? But so do the makers contract with you for a certain amount of time, or how does that work? How do they get involved?
It's kind of technically like my agreement is about a 3 month,
Okay.
but most some I've had since I opened.
Okay.
And then yeah, I'll bring somebody in and say like we can do kind of like a trial period for a few months and test it out. Because the reality of retail and a lot of times I wish this wasn't the case, but the reality is you do need things to sell and move
Yes.
in the store. So it's kind of one of those things that like I've gotten a pretty good idea of getting an idea of like which products might do well and which maybe won't.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll bring ones in that I'm like, I'm not really sure. I haven't tried it yet, so we can test it. But I usually say that at the beginning because I'm like, we haven't had this particular item, so I don't know how customers are going to respond. And it very well can be the time of year,
Right.
which does make a difference. So I'm trying to purposefully bring in pieces that make sense with the seasons or the time of year that's appropriate. So having that in mind, and frequently checking the sales report, it does come down to numbers a lot of times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking at, and I might say, this isn't really working out. Unfortunately, I'd love for it to, but it's just not. And we also get requests from customers, and I love being able to fulfill some of those requests if it makes sense. I don't, we don't make a whole set of products just because one person asks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But but a lot of makers will do like one-off custom pieces, and then some will, when we get enough requests, like that happened when we first opened. I had bigger things and I thought I would probably lean into a little more home decor things or just other kind of randomly made um pieces, and we got so many requests for souvenir type of items.
Oh,
They're like, do
okay.
you have any magnets? I'm like, nope, but I can see who does magnets. And then they're like, do you have any postcards? Like, okay, yeah, like let's add more postcards. Do you have, pins? It just started kind of growing from there. So a lot of the things we have now actually were part of collecting that data and getting information and feedback from the community. And I want it to be a a responsive store to the community.
Yeah.
So if someone comes in and wants to see something, in particular, and we get multiple requests, I'm like, okay, that's what the community is asking for. So
Yeah.
we're makers, we can
Yeah.
make it.
We'll make it. Well, and I'm sure that's got to be kind of a balance you always have to strive for, appealing to out of towners, right? You got your tourists coming
Mhm.
in, and then you,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, you have a lot of repeat customers of local people, which I think is really, really cool.
Hmm.
And so they might not be shopping for the souvenir stuff, but they're looking at their favorite makers or yeah, so
Right.
that's a really cool,
Exactly.
opportunity and we don't always have tourists in San Luis Obispo. I mean, we always have tourists, but there are certainly waves, right, of
Right.
tourists
Yeah.
season. So yeah, that's
And
cool.
well, one of the other surprising things to me is that I always kind of thought, okay, there's two groups. There's the tourists that come through, and they might want something that says San Luis Obispo on it. And then there's the locals, and they want some unique things that are produced by local makers. But part of that, a lot of locals actually do enjoy having things that say San Luis Obispo on it. So that's
Yeah.
one thing. And there's actually another category,
Oh,
which
really?
is locals buying things from the area to give to people in other areas. So I'll frequently have someone come in that's like, I'm about to take a trip and I want to take my friends or family, or just like going on a cruise and we have to give gifts. So I want something with poppy on it, with California on it, with slow on it. So
Yeah.
that's actually another kind of group that I learned. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. What's something really unexpected? I mean, you kind of mentioned that's kind of surprising. Is there anything that's been really unexpected that's resulted of this new endeavor?
It might be that I got back into creating more. So when I first opened, I've I've gone through different yeah, different, I guess, thought processes throughout this. And I'm a big believer in learning and adjusting, evolving, changing, like you figure out what you need to do to, continue in the direction, um, while staying true to just the core values and what the ultimate goal is. So when I first opened, it was a mixture of there was a ton of time that I had to spend working and communicating with everyone. Still is a lot of time.
I'm sure.
Coordinating everything and inventorying and labeling and displaying and there's all of those things. Like the constant upkeep that a retail store takes
Yeah.
can be quite exhausting that I've learned. However, I did miss making some of my own things and designing. At first, I really was holding back because time, but also I wanted to let makers shine and didn't want to detract from that.
Yeah.
And then I did start realizing that as people were requesting things, and some makers maybe weren't set up to just like do a whole new line of products. Everything is on consignment, so it is up to them to invest their time and resources to be able to produce something, and then maybe, maybe it doesn't sell. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee that if somebody requests, if we get multiple requests for something, that it's just going to be selling automatically,
Right.
even though
Yeah.
you would think it would. But so I'd have some that were able to like, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll do that. And then it also was like, well, we have so many requests for things. Maybe I need to just start filling some of these gaps. So I started working on some of my own designs. I commissioned one of our artist makers, she's an illustrator, that does designs because people were asking for vintage style travel
Oh,
art
cool.
and a description. So I went to her and was like, hey, I'd like for you to create this piece of art. This is what I want it to have included. So we worked on the design and revisions and all that. And that's been a really popular piece. So we got the rights to it and I make products based on that. And then I've done my own designs. My husband's done some designs, and then we create products based on that. I did end up investing in equipment to be able to make some things that was brand new. So I'd never done sublimation, which
Oh,
is
okay. That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
that's the craft that I'm doing. I had never done it before. I actually only learned about it because of the store.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's super cool. Okay. And so
Yeah.
so I'm like teaching myself that at the same time and and figuring out, in pretty quick time whether or not things work that I put in the store. And then I've slowly am dipping my toe in the water of wholesale that I haven't actually done. So what finally kind of pushed me to that, besides the fact that I wanted to provide some of the things that customers were asking for. And also, I realized I needed another revenue stream
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Um, but also, I feel very strongly in walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I'm giving advice and, saying like, oh, these are the things to do with your products, if I'm doing products myself
Yeah.
and going through those steps and understanding from the maker's perspective and then saying, oh, yeah, like I've dealt with that. This is how you can do it. Then I feel like that is also very important knowledge to have.
That makes
So,
a lot of sense. I mean, I'm sure you've probably worked out a couple of kinks just by, being your own maker, right? And figuring out,
exactly.
oh, I could really streamline that process. So,
Yep.
well, I am really, really excited, to see your continued success.
You
Oh,
didn't
shoot.
hear the whole
All right.
question.
Okay. So, cheers to continued success of Making SLO. How can people find you or inquire about being a maker in your store, etc.?
Yeah. Well, we're at makingslo.com. Obviously, the store is 751 Higuera, although there is no number on the building. It is at Higuera and Garden. It's the one with the big gates. Most people know the building.
Yeah, it is different. Yeah.
And on our website, I do have an application to fill out if you'd like to be a maker. I am trying to keep up with responding.
I can
It is
imagine.
quite challenging the number of people that I communicate on a regular basis
Oh,
with.
I can imagine.
So,
Yeah.
so I have a bit of a wait list as far as makers wanting to come into the store, and I'm still, like I said, I base it on learning what's happening in the store. So I'm trying to figure out the right ones to bring in at the right time. So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Super excited for you. And this
thank
has been
you.
another episode of K Fred's California Pulse. I'm Michelle
Thanks so
Rempel,
much
and
for
this was
having me.
April Reeves with Making SLO. Thanks so much. Bye.